Sugar Waters, thank you, Sugar Waters. Sugar Waters says, I don't know where to start breaking down collectivist ideas without using facts because my mind works by using truth and facts.
Okay.
Thank you. I'm glad your mind works that way, by the way, Sugar Waters.
So don't abandon using facts. You just have to like pepper your emotional argument with the facts. Like if you just come in and are, well, statistically, blah, 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 which sometimes I do, they're much less likely to listen. But if you tell a story with those facts, you know what? If you guys haven't read it, you should get a copy of Love Your Enemies by Arthur Brooks. And I think he has I think there's a couple things wrong with the book that I think he underestimates the authoritarian left, the SJW left. I don't think he realizes that they hold the same values that we do. They don't value individualism and free speech and liberty. I think he gets that wrong. But what he talks about speaking to the elephant, like having your emotional argument. Here's a great example. Let's take the minimum wage. I often hear people on the left, and when I was on the left, I would do the same thing, and I heard people make this argument all the time. Instead of giving you stats to support their opinion on raising the minimum wage, they'll say, do you think a single father of four should have to, I think Carl and I were talking about this, a single father of four should have to work two jobs to provide for his family. And they paint a picture in your head of this hypothetical single father of four. They make the emotional case. They make you feel for that father while and they don't actually pepper it with facts. Here's why what you're going to do is better. You're going to tell a story too, but you're going to have facts peppered in. So it's like you're steel manning your argument, right? You take this to other people, have them see where the weaknesses are. Take it to people who agree with you and see where the weaknesses are. But like, present your case about, well, do you think the single father of four should be laid off? Do you want him to be laid off because his business can't afford to keep him on the payroll anymore because the minimum wage has been raised? Do you think the single father of four's hours should be cut? Do you think the single father of four should have to close his small business because he can't afford to pay the new minimum? Like, you have to present the emotional reason for why, the moral argument for why you believe what you, because they're only based in the version of morality. So if you read the Jonathan Haidt book, The Righteous Mind, okay, he talks about all these different, it's almost like thinking of it as channels of morality. There's one channel that people on the left and people on the right share, and that's the care harm principle. So if it's harming someone, they respond to that. And if it's harming someone, people on the right respond to that too. You have to show them how it's harming that single father of four and have the stats to back it up. In your argument, you can say, statistically, here's what happens when they raise the minimum wage. Here's what happened in Seattle. Here's how many small businesses went under. Here's how many people got laid off. But you tell the story about the father first because they just see cold, hard facts. But you want to paint a picture in their head. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. What I was going to say was similar, but I was going to point out that if you're arguing against collectivism as an individualist, you have an advantage. You're right. That's your advantage. So the fact that you're actually right and what you're saying corresponds to reality means that it's very easy to use. I would make it personal, and I would use stories. And one of the personal ways to do it is the against me argument. So you can, with the other person, put them in a particular scenario or put yourself in a particular scenario, depending on where you think they'll have more empathy, or you can construct a hypothetical scenario of someone. And because individualism is correct, any scenario, when you pick it, you can show how appealing to collectivism is damaging to that particular individual. And how it's unfair and how it causes them pain and ultimately maybe even death, depending on the scenario. That doesn't mean, like Carrie said, it doesn't mean you don't have facts. And actually, I don't think statistics are very useful. Like stats are fine. If they're arguing stats, they kind of don't even want to have the real discussion. You don't need stats to understand why, for example, racism is wrong. That's not a statistical argument, right? You actually don't need stats to understand why minimum wage is wrong. Two people mutually agreeing have the right to decide who gets paid what for what. Now, you might want to buttress that with some facts if they get upset about it, but you can make that argument and you can do it from a story and a very personal perspective about how that works.